So now we are here at nationalmap.gov.au/renewables. This is the AREMI platform. So what we can do when we start this and it opens up is click on the map up here in the top right, and you can choose any of the available maps. So you can select in 2D or 3D, and not all of our layers are actually available in 3D, so we generally use 2D. And you can select a plane map or an aerial-based map with labels or without, and a whole bunch of different things here. So let's use this one for the purposes of this sort of tutorial of how you use the basics of AREMI. So then we actually go over here to the key button, which is to add data. And I think Chris is indicating that you may or may not be able to actually see the full map. Hopefully everybody can actually see the full breadth of my screen.
Yeah, Ed, I'm watching it as an observer here, and if you've got the comments down the left-hand side, the web chat down the left-hand side, then you're not going to see the full screen. But there is a little arrow just to the right of that white comment box. If you click that, you should get full screen.
Great, thanks, Chris. So let's have a look at this Add Data button. So you click that and it brings up the data catalog. So you can see a whole bunch of information around electricity infrastructure, renewable energy resources, environmental information, cadastral boundaries, property boundaries, weather, all sorts. And our maps are located under electricity infrastructure. And then there's network opportunities. So we click that. And so everything within this folder is what ISS has been responsible for developing with its partners, and what Energy Networks Australia will be responsible for taking over. So you can see the four maps that the four key maps that we've described in the traditional network opportunity maps, and the new folder here of new generator connection capacity, which is broken down by transmission and distribution, power lines and substations. And this year we've also added some supporting information. So there's distribution boundaries, such as in terms of which distributors service which areas. There's transmission lines located by voltage, and our old 2016 constraint maps are there for past reference if you were wanting to compare with what was there from last year. So anything that's outside this Network Opportunities maps folder is actually maintained by Geoscience Australia or Data61 or a host of other data suppliers. So it's everything that's within the Network Opportunities folder that is Energy Networks Australia's responsibility. So let's click on Available Distribution Capacity here. So that's our first map. And you can actually see in this Info tab, you can find out everything you need to know about this layer. So there's a description of the data, what it does and doesn't show, a whole bunch of information on what happens when you click on the info boxes and what all of the cryptic things in there might actually mean. Some notes on data currency, the disclaimers, and you can just download that data directly in CSV format straight to your machine. It's an open data approach on National Map, so you can just click on that to do so. In this case, let's actually, I'll click on the plus to add that to the map, and I will also add proposed investment in there as well. So you can see I have two maps down here at the moment. So you can see that the legend has now appeared over this side, and there's also this display variable. So like I mentioned earlier, you can actually toggle between these to look at what you're viewing at. So where the default is investment year here on the proposed investment map, but I can look and see the level of the asset or the asset type, which ones are summer or winter, and the various drivers, including deferrable investment and the non-deferrable ones grey out. So that's that's the basic use of the AREMI platform. And so now what people often miss is this time slider bar. That's where it is down the bottom. It is there. People aren't necessarily used to finding it or seeing it. I'm going to turn off proposed investment, and I'll show you just how you can see some of the data actually changes over time in a particular circumstance. So here's sort of North Melbourne, north of Melbourne, where there's some zones that are not particularly constrained in 2016, but if you look in 10 years' time and you actually click on that, you can see that there's a constraint appearing. It's gone from green to red, and if we were to click on this particular area, you see that this is the AusNet distribution feeder data that they've experimented with putting in there this year, because their constraints tend to be not at the whole zone level, but actually underneath at the feeder level, and that's where their investments are happening. So that's why they're looking at putting a more granular level of data here. And you can see the load and capacity situation, and in this graph here, that you can see that it's about 2020 when that capacity gets exceeded. So you can actually even drag and drop your own data into the browser. So let's have a bit of a go at that. So I've just got any old CSV file lying around that happens to have latitude and longitude in it, for example. And I've just dropped that into the browser, and now you can see I'll put us onto a more plain map, and we'll turn off distribution capacity. You can see a whole bunch of points here now. That is just something that's sitting on my computer, and I can use confidential data like that at any time and view it next to these public data sets. So that's a really valuable feature. And finally, there's also the functionality to be able to share any particular view, so that you can, if you want to embed something in your website, share a social media post, for example, you get a view in exactly the way you want it, with any underlying layers, any maps selected, and then you click share, and it will pop up, give you a preview of that. You can copy that link and paste it anywhere in the space of 20 seconds. So it's really powerful tool.